Welcome. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking a seat in this wonderful auditorium. My name is Miguel Neves. I'm the editor-in-chief of Skift Meetings, and I will be your moderator for the Luxembourg Business Event Day 2026. So first of all, I want to start by just getting an idea of who's in the room. I know we have partners of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau from all over Luxembourg. If you work in a hotel, could you just raise your hand for me? Okay, I'd say that's maybe a quarter, maybe more. Venue that's not a hotel? Okay, quite a few. On the production or catering side, services? Okay, a few hands. And what about agency? What about the people putting on the events, organizing? Okay. And apologies for the name, but who is not in any of those categories? Anyone? Okay, there's always a few. Apologies. I'd love to connect and understand, what you do and how you do it, but always very interesting. So we're going to have a full day or a full half day with a lot of hopefully interesting things for you. My mission is to make sure to give you useful information to inspire you, and I have the help of the ministers, the Luxembourg Convention Bureau, and 5 panelists that I will introduce a little bit later who are really experts in the field. This is our agenda. We're going to hear from Thill, the Minister Delegate for Tourism. We're going to hear from Maurice Bauer, the Deputy Mayor of Luxembourg City and Vice President of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau. I'm going to talk a little bit about Megatrends, and I'll explain what those are in a little bit. And then we have a panel with 5 experts that I already mentioned, and Dr. Bettina Bunge, the new or relatively new CEO of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau, will close us out with some important data and some important ideas of projects and things that are going to be happening next. And after that, we will have a walking healthy lunch, which I'm sure in about 3 hours you'll be really looking forward to. You'll be like, get off the stage, let's go for lunch. So that's all I have for introduction. I hope you will join me in introducing the Minister for Culture and the Minister Delegate for Tourism, Thill. Eric, would you join us on stage? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Guten Morgen, bonjour, hello. Dear partners, colleagues, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome you here all to the Philharmonie for our Business Event Day here in Luxembourg. Today's event is about far more than just discussing our industry. It is about shaping how Luxembourg positions itself in an increasingly competitive and interconnected world. This event brings together the people who shape, challenge, and advance one of the most strategically important sectors for our country. An occasion where ideas meet expertise, where partnerships take form, and where we collectively reflect on the opportunities and also transformations that will define the future of business events here in Luxembourg. I am therefore especially delighted to see so many of you here today, once again reflecting the strength, commitment, and the dynamism of our business events industry. Because if this sector proves anything time and again, it is that real progress emerges from collaboration. Over the past years, Luxembourg has made remarkable strides in positioning itself as a destination of choice for international congresses, conferences, and professional gatherings. Our political stability, multilingual and highly skilled workforce, excellent infrastructure, and of course, strong economic sectors have enabled us to attract a growing number of international events and strengthened our visibility on the global stage. But this progress did not happen by choice and by chance. It is, of course, a result of your dedication and your expertise. The venues, agencies, hotels, cultural institutions, transport providers, specialists, and innovators who work every day to make Luxembourg a destination where international experts feel welcomed, connected, and also inspired. At the same time, we must remain aware of the challenges ahead. International competition is strong. Yes, other destinations are investing heavily, innovating rapidly, and strengthening their international visibility. If we want to remain competitive, we must continue to evolve with stronger visibility, deeper coordination, and a constant drive for innovation. That is precisely why today this Business Event Day matters. The Luxembourg Business Event Day offers us an important opportunity to step back and look ahead, to analyze emerging trends, challenge established approaches, and explore, of course, new ideas together. It is a platform where the sector professionals can openly discuss the major transformations that reshape our common industry. From sustainability to digitalization to talent development, new event formats, and the changing expectations of international organizers. These conversations are not theoretical. They are essential to ensuring that Luxembourg, our country, remains a relevant, attractive, and a forward-looking destination. The government's vision is very clear. Luxembourg must continue to diversify its economy and strengthen its resilience. Tourism and business events are not secondary activities. No, they are strategic pillars of our economic diversification. Every congress, every conference, every international meeting brings value. Economic value, of course, but also intellectual and reputational value. That's a very complicated word, and that's the problem here in Luxembourg. We know to speak very different languages, but that's the problem. Business events reinforce Luxembourg's position as a center of excellence in finance, of course, ICT, space, health, technologies, sustainability, and other emerging fields where our country is actively shaping our common future. To fully unlock this potential, we must deepen the synergies between culture, tourism, and business events. We must think in ecosystem, not in silos. And yes, altogether, we must create experiences that are not only professionally relevant, but also culturally rich and emotionally memorable. This integrated approach is what will allow our country, Luxembourg, to stand out in an increasingly competitive global landscape. In this context, the Luxembourg Convention Bureau, the LCB, plays a strategic role. As the national promotion agency, the LCB is the first point of contact for international organizers, the coordinator of the sector, and a key driver of Luxembourg's international visibility as a business events destination. Its expertise and its ability to bring the sector together are essential to ensuring that our country continues to rank among the most respected and also competitive business events destination in Europe and beyond. Before closing, I would also like to extend my warm thanks to the Luxembourg Convention Bureau for organizing today's Luxembourg Business Events Day and for putting together such an extraordinary and also forward-looking program. Their work in their work for our sector, curating high-quality content and driving strategic reflection is very important for the development of our industry. So, Bettina, thank you much to you and the whole team. I would also like to thank all those who participated in the business event Barometer survey. Your contributions are essential. Without reliable data, we cannot understand how our sector is evolving, where our strengths lie, or where new opportunities are emerging. Data enables us to make informed decisions, to benchmark ourselves internationally, and, of course, to design policies and actions that truly reflect the needs of you, of the markets. And finally, my sincere gratitude goes to all of you, of course. It is your energy, your creativity, your passion that allows Luxembourg to grow as a leading destination for the business events. If there is one message gathering like this make clear, it is that our sector advances when we move forward together. So I look very forward to continuing our successful collaboration, and you can always count on my support. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Maurice Bauer, the Deputy Mayor City of Luxembourg and the Vice President of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau. You have the tough job of following Minister Thill. And of course, this is the man with the best scarf game in the whole industry. So you can all comment him on his excellent scarf. So please.
Many thanks, Miguel. Rarely I'm so nicely introduced. Many thanks. Dear Minister, dear Bettina, dear CEO, dear team of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau, dear partners, let me first of all give you a warm welcome on behalf of the City of Luxembourg. And after this, I have a real strong message now firstly to give. A couple of days, I got this outstanding couple of socks from the Luxembourg Convention Bureau. They are so nicely, so I have promised to do some cross-selling. So I hope, even though they absolutely don't match with my tie and my scarf, I found them so nice that I hope that in a year's time, when we meet again here for the second edition, I will see all of you with such nice socks wearing and running around. No, seriously. We are gathering today here because we have the need to stay together in order to maintain Luxembourg as a privileged destination for this Congress tourism. It's something which is for the City of Luxembourg enormously important to be partner in this job, because being the center of the country, being the capital of the country, being one of the three capitals of Europe, it's for the City of Luxembourg crucial to support this initiative. And therefore, let me also first start with thanking Minister Thill and his whole team from the ministry. Because when we decided back in 2019 to put our efforts together, this was the beginning, I guess, of a real success story. And it's really a pleasure to work together with your team, with Rachel, with Ricky, with Gina, with all the others. And it's really nice to see how much we can, if we want, be a very special actor in this field, given the close relationship and the deep relationships between the national and the local level. And that helps enormously. In a country where ways are very short, it's so easy to work together with the ministry, and therefore I would like first of all to thank the minister and his team for this excellent collaboration which we have. But if I see here in this room so many familiar figures, it's such a pleasure because we have all together, on behalf of the city of Luxembourg, with all of you, been able to organize so many interesting events. And it's indeed important to have this business day today, because it shows also that if we gather all together here, so much and so many competencies, so many expertise, so many engagement from all of you, because it's your business daily work which you are doing here, and where you have such an expertise, and we can all only profit from this. A couple of weeks ago, the Luxembourg Event Association celebrated their anniversary. Also, an important, strong partner for being able to attracting people to Luxembourg. But I think, and today we are here for the business days, it's certainly also the quality and the competence of the team of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau, which is excellating and which is so nicely welcoming all these organizations, because it's not that easy to bring all these people to Luxembourg. We have to put on the one side, we have to put Luxembourg on the world, on the map. On the other side, Luxembourg always tries to be a little bit under the radar because we want not to be too much exposed to criticisms and other things. Therefore, it's not that easy. And I find that the team of the LCB is doing an outstanding job and deserves a large applause. To show how much work is going on, and I know that Carol is here somewhere in the room, who is organizing during these days the first International Climate Finance Days in Luxembourg. We have the meeting of the World Stock Exchange Federation here in Luxembourg going on in these days, showing how much activity there is on a daily work, on a daily situation here in Luxembourg, and that's something which is outstanding and which shows how much we need all of you with your expertise, with your engagement, whether it's hotels, whether it's shops, whether it's every agency which helps to organize things in Luxembourg, and that's something which is interesting. We have, as City of Luxembourg, a natural interest to be partnering here. The City of Luxembourg and the mayor always describes the situation with the challenges of the City of Luxembourg by 4 numbers. 2, 1, 20, 40, and I would like to add 70. The City of Luxembourg is 2% of the overall territory of the country of Luxembourg. Out of these 2%, 1% is green. Forests, gardens, parks. So on this remaining 1%, we welcome 20% of the overall population of Luxembourg and 40% of the overall working places in Luxembourg. This is definitely a challenge. And in addition to this, we have 70% of non-Luxembourgers living here, which shows the openness and the richness of this city, being able to welcome people from all around the world in our city in order to organize things and to give all these Congress tourists a feeling of feeling home here in our city. And therefore, I think that's something which is absolutely crucial to underline how much we have to sit together, to work together in order to get all of this out of the situation. We have an European dimension here in Luxembourg. We have an international dimension, but we have, of course, also a local dimension. And I think all of this gives an enormous dynamism to the City of Luxembourg and to the LCB. And therefore, I think it's also one of those challenges which we have to address over the next years is definitely that we should stay in a pioneering seat, that we always should continue to innovate, and to address also this Congress tourism in a sustainable way. I think that will be one of the main challenges, to try to get this activity in a way where it's more sustainable, still attractive, and that we can count on all the people loving to come to Luxembourg. It's one of the greenest cities in the world, and we should also build on this expertise and on this advantage to knowing that we have here a city which can welcome people from all around the world in a respectful way, where we can build on your talent, on your engagement, on your expertise. And I think together with all our partners, with all of you, with your different competencies, the LCB has a network of partners which is absolutely enormous. And this is the only way in this public-private partnership where we can bring things forward. And therefore, I'm very happy to be today with you in order to listen to the new megatrends, to get more insights on what's going on. And I'm looking forward to continuing working with all of you. The City of Luxembourg is an engaged member of the LCB and shareholder, and we need all of you to continue doing and building Luxembourg as a strategic location and venue, especially if we see the international situation in geopolitics. If we see the war going on currently, that will drive a lot of activity in other regions, especially also to Europe. And therefore we have to be ready for that. That will also be one, I think, of the challenges which we have to address. If there is even more activity coming to Luxembourg, we have to be ready. Many thanks, have fruitful discussions, and I'm looking forward to the conclusions. Many thanks.
Thank you so much. Wait. I can do it too. I've got the socks as well. I have different socks, the different color, but yours are more beautiful. I can't compete, I'm sorry. Great. Well, thank you so much, Minister Thill and Mr. Bauer. Thank you so much for that. On to Megatrends. So this is the moment where I get to speak a little bit about the work that I do every day. So I'm a journalist. I cover meetings and events, the industry of conferences, the MICE industry, if you will. And every day we cover big stories. I work for a company called Skift. Who's heard of Skift before? Okay, a few people haven't. Hopefully this will be a good introduction to you and you'll learn afterwards. We are a company of about 100 people. We have 4 or 5 different media entities. We cover hotels, airlines, short-term rentals, and I work for Skift Meetings. So I run a small editorial team that covers meetings and events. Whoop. And every year we do a thing we call Megatrends. Now, what are Megatrends? Other than a pompous name like Megatrends, the idea is that these are not just things that we look into a crystal ball and say, oh, I think this is what's going to happen. Now, we look at the coverage that we do every day. We look at the journalism that we do every day, the balanced journalism, and we figure things that we're seeing patterns. We figure things that we think, okay, these are going to be things that are going to really impact meetings and events. And these are the 6 that I'm going to be talking about. I think Maurice, you already talked a little bit about geopolitics. That's the first one. But these are the 6, and we made it in a tarot style for the graphics, which I think is kind of fun. So let's address the elephant in the room, political polarization or geopolitics, right? This is a big topic, and I think really affects us all. This is a Capitol building. Actually, I think this is in San Francisco, but I'm sure you've seen the news. There are protests. Politics, particularly in America, are going through a very, very challenging time. But that is not necessarily negative for a country like Luxembourg. As Maurice already said, there are opportunities in this polarization. And what we're talking about is figuring out where these opportunities are. We're covering every day things like, do you know what this is? The World Cup. It's going to start in about 10 days in America. But of course, this isn't a meetings and events event. It's a live event. It's a larger thing. But there are a lot of concerns. People are afraid to go to the US. People are afraid to go to a football game in America and maybe never come back. And of course, I think a lot of this is overhyped. I don't think people are necessarily in danger, but that is the perception. The same thing happens for meetings and events. A lot of associations that are running events in America are losing sponsorship. Attendance is decreasing. And what's happening in a lot of situations, and I've heard this firsthand, that the European event is increasing sponsorship, is increasing attendance. And this perception of the US as being less welcoming is really hurting business, particularly in international associations, which is an important part of meetings and events. But of course, there's other areas that are very complex in terms of the political side of events. I would say that every international event, every international piece of business is also a political decision. And you see on the screen here just a random photo of a Russian stand at an exhibition. Now, Russian companies are not permitted to do business with EU, US, etc. But what about Russian speakers? Are they allowed to be on stages in Europe? What if they were born in Russia and live somewhere else? There's very complicated decisions that I think we need to do when we do international business that happen all the time. And so every business decision is also a political decision. This is a story that I covered recently. It is an event called RightsCon, a human rights conference. It was supposed to happen in early May in Lusaka, Zambia. 3,000 people were meant to get on a plane and go to Lusaka, Zambia, to attend a digital rights conference. A week before the event, the local government of Zambia postponed the event without telling the organizers. They put a message on Facebook saying, "We are postponing the event for administrative challenges." So what it turned out happened, and some of this is alleged, the Zambian government has not admitted to this, but what it turned out happened was the Chinese government, as I think most people know, China is very involved in Africa. They build the convention centers. They provide loans for a lot of African countries. They built the convention center where this event was going to happen. At that human rights conference, a delegation from Taiwan and China don't really like each other that much, I think everybody knows that. A delegation from Taiwan was going to do a speech. China didn't want that to happen. So they told the Zambian government, these people are not allowed to come to this conference. And the organizers, because it's a human rights conference, it's a conference about human rights, about diversity, about letting people speak freely, said, if you don't allow the Taiwanese delegation to enter the country, we're canceling the conference. So with a week's notice, 3,000 people did not go to Zambia, which, as you can imagine, for Zambia is a massive event. I calculated the direct spend to be somewhere around $4 million. But a week before this, China signed an energy contract with Zambia for $1.8 billion. So you see who won out there? So interesting geopolitical challenges and opportunities. But there's positive sides to this as well. I think we like to think of events as places where people come for dialogue. People with different opinions come and speak to each other. This is an image of a SHRM, the Human Rights Association in the US. They put on an event called Blueprint. And the man on the right with the ponytail, that is Robbie Starbuck. He is a right-wing influencer that's made a career out of calling out companies for DEI policies. He will do live streams online and go through, for example, McDonald's DEI and inclusion policy and say, oh, this is stupid, or we shouldn't be doing this. So he's made a career of really upsetting a lot of human rights people. And this human rights conference put him on stage with Van Jones, a commentator for CNN, for a debate. And when they announced that he was a speaker, there was a lot of complaints. A lot of people canceled their membership. A lot of people didn't think it was the right thing to do. But once the event actually happened, a lot of those people came back and said, no, that was good. We had a civil dialogue on stage. The event was a good place for us to exchange ideas. And maybe we don't agree, but at least we have a better understanding of the other side. So I think it's important that we understand that events can also be these places for dialogue. And I think this is such an important thing because, as you said, Luxembourg is one of 3 European capitals. You're used to having 27 or 29 countries argue about stuff ferociously, and that's okay. You still are the host. You still bring people together. So I think this image of being a country where lots of different points of view come together can be very positive. I know where I'd rather run an event today. if it's between the US, Zambia, and Luxembourg, those are very extreme examples, but I know which country I think is much more welcoming of diverse points of view. So there you go. That is the first mega trend, and I think you will agree that that is definitely a mega trend. There's 5 more, and I think they're all kind of interesting as well in themselves. Artificial intelligence. Who's like a big fan of AI in the audience? Who says, yes, AI is amazing, I love it? Okay, that's about maybe like 10%, 15%. Who's on the other side of that? Like, I really don't like AI. I think it's kind of crazy and a little bit, okay, not many people willing to admit. I think everybody somewhere in the middle kind of try to figure out AI, right? I hope you don't mind me asking you to raise your hands, but I'd like to get a little bit of energy in the room, and I'd like to also understand kind of your thoughts on this. AI is definitely controversial. I think some people really have a very negative feeling towards AI, like it's going to take all our jobs. We're heading for a depression. I don't think everybody thinks like that, but there's definitely a point of view that is very much like that. Does anybody know what this is? A data center. So it's a big building full of computer servers. That's really what powers ChatGPT and Claude and all those kind of things. And these things are being built all over the world. This is one in Ireland. There's a lot of jobs while they're being built, but once they're built, it's just a big computer that takes up a lot of energy, takes up a lot of resources. And so there's a lot of discussion around, should we be doing this? Should we be building all these data centers everywhere? And I think, Anna Abdelnoor will come on stage later as a sustainability expert. I'm sure she has an opinion about data centers, and we'll get into that a little bit, but a big part of the discussion. And then there's AI slop, which is this idea that you can use AI to create things very easily, but you might end up creating things that are probably not worth the energy that was used to create them, right? They're great at creating birthday cards and taking pictures and modifying them and making fun things, but really, are we really advancing our jobs? Are we advancing the work that we do? And then there's the work version of this, which is work slop. Has anybody ever used AI to create something that looked really good at first, and then you actually read it and was like, ooh, no, that's not so great. Well, it's happening all the time. There is Deloitte. Deloitte, one of the big 4 accounting firms. They were fined 290 million Australian dollars for a project they did for the Australian government. They delivered a report, and the Australian government found lots of errors in it and lots of AI hallucinations. So it's like, oops, that was not so good. So AI is an interesting space, and I read something the other day on LinkedIn that was very funny, which was somebody was saying, a family at home with kids was saying, hey, we're going to have dinosaur meat for dinner. And the 7-year-old kid went, that's AI. In the sense of like, that's a lie, that's fake, right? So AI becomes just fake for kids. So kind of an interesting time for AI. We all really understand the potential, but we also understand some of the drawbacks, and of course that'll evolve a lot. But where I think the mega trend is, the opportunity, is in this, is in being in the same room together. I'm not AI. I'm pretty sure you know that. We could have a hologram on stage, but you can shake my hand afterwards and we can have a conversation, just so you're sure that I'm not AI. But events are this antidote to AI. And I think that's really starting to play out. People are starting to understand that what they read online, what they see on social media, may not always be real, or maybe it's a little easier to make it unreal now. And I think events can really be that antidote. And so I think there's a big opportunity as we do that. But of course, I think the solution is to also play nice with AI, right? I think there is big advantages with AI and with technology. So I'm not saying don't use any AI, but I think there's a middle ground. One of the things that we're looking into a lot at Skift, and we have a department at Skift, this is a research. So we have Skift Research that do all research for us. And they spoke to a lot of travelers. They did a big survey of travelers to understand how they're using AI, right? In the audience, who uses AI when they're going to go traveling? Like if they're going to go to a new destination, they search, what can I do? What's a nice hotel? Wow, look back. That's about 70% of the audience. That's pretty much in line with what we have on the screen. So this is the survey that we did. Travelers globally say they've used ChatGPT. This is extensively or occasionally, so some people use it all the time, some people only use a little bit. but almost 2/3 are using AI to plan their travels. Now, interestingly, we kind of broke that down into generations, and we have the boomers, the older 65 and plus, that aren't using AI really, only 14%. But then you have this millennials that are actually the top, 69%. But if you look at the younger generation, Gen Z, they're actually using it a little bit less. Now, still they're using it quite a bit, but we see this trend of, again, that sort of AI, that suspicion of AI going, I don't know if I can trust AI. And I think the younger generation is thinking about that a lot. We also looked at the earning level, the income level of the people answering the survey. And we found that the ones with the highest income level are using AI more. And that, I think, is particularly relevant for our industry, because we do tend to target, particularly international association events, corporate events, will be the high income earners are the ones that are traveling, and they're more likely to use AI. And what are they doing with AI? The top thing they're doing is researching destinations. So, of course, the big question is, how do we show up in AI? How do we make sure that Luxembourg shows up in AI in the most positive way, that it comes up as the top suggestion? The answer to that is nobody really knows yet, which is a bit unfortunate. And I think Thorben Grosser here, who was talking a little bit about AI, he's our expert on AI, he could maybe dive into that a little bit. But that is a very tough question at the moment. We've heard about SEO, about becoming higher on the Google rankings. I think how to get in search engines is very similar. Everything I hear is that it's similar, but we don't really know. And the reason we don't really know is that I can type something into my ChatGPT and say, what's a nice country to hold an event? And it might say Luxembourg. It might say something else. Someone else will do the same thing, and it might give a completely different answer. It's not like Google where there's a server and there's, depending on your location, it'll give you the same answer. Everybody's going to get a different answer, and there's no way of kind of tracking that back. Very interesting conversation. I am not the expert here, but delighted to have that conversation a little bit further. But I guess what I'm trying to show here is we need to kind of understand how to work with AI in the best way possible. On to the next event, smaller events. I think this is very kind of connected to the AI. And this is a trend that we're seeing, that is larger companies moving towards smaller events. So rather than organizing one big trade show, maybe they organize more than one, but they spread them out. Now, of course, I think the advantage here is that a destination like Luxembourg, which may not have capacity for a web summit, for example, can organize other smaller events and kind of spread them out. So I'll give you a few examples. This is E3, computer gaming show, very big in the late 2010s. It was held in LA. I think at its peak, it had about 70,000 people attending. Okay? It never came back after COVID. After COVID, sponsors weren't there. It just never came back. They launched it twice. It didn't happen. Last week, the same organization that was responsible for E3 organized ICON, their new conference, which is a conference for 1,000 people. Very different scale. Same sponsors, same focus, but very different scale. This is happening other places. Forrester, one of the big analysis and kind of research companies, they have their big summits. They're in a bit of financial trouble, so what is their new strategy? They've created forums. They've created Forrester forums that are much smaller, and they're running those all over the world. And what's interesting about the forums is that a lot of people think, okay, if you're running smaller events, I'm going to go to a secondary destination, a smaller destination. But actually what they're doing is they're running the forums at major cities with major businesses and major airports, because they see that people want to go in and out quickly. And they want to go to an event and then go to a business that they want to connect to. They want to do business, they want to sell, they want to do their thing. So they're very active at kind of making these things work. So very much, I think, an opportunity for Luxembourg. I think about the size, and I think about doing business with companies here as well while you're here. Now, research, Freeman just did this really extensive research about why people want to come to events. And the thing that they said was connecting, networking, learning. And then the other thing that's really big that I think sometimes we ignore is products, is learning about products. And the idea that you want somebody to really show you something, that you want like a trade show situation where you can actually touch, you can actually ask questions. Very important, I think, really reinforces the idea of why we need events and why they work. But small events can really help be more flexible when the stock market isn't doing so well, when there's volatility, you can move them around a lot easier. And of course, it is really about this being in the same room with other people. And I'll put some nice pictures of Luxembourg because I found these online. I'm like, these are some great venues. I would love to have an intimate conference at one of these venues. And I just think that there's a really interesting opportunity with Luxembourg. I think Luxembourg Convention Bureau is obviously the body to explain all this internationally, and I think that is one of their main roles. But this mix of modern buildings, like the one we're in today, and the classic European architecture, I think is pretty unique, and I think has a lot of potential. This is actually a picture that I took myself. This is from MPI's European conference 2 years ago in the building next door. And I'm not starstruck that easily, but I think having a meeting in the same room that you've seen on TV a zillion times of European, EU policymakers sitting there discussing, that's pretty special. And there's not that many places in the world that you could do that. You can't hold a meeting inside the Capitol building in Washington. You can't hold a meeting inside Buckingham Palace or Houses of Parliament in the UK. Maybe in a side room, but you can't be in the main room, right? That's not possible. You can here. And that's a pretty interesting option. Right, a couple more megatrends. The talent gap. Who is feeling some challenge around hiring people for their team, building a team, and kind of finding new people to come into the industry? Anyone feeling that challenge? Okay, a few. All right, another question for you. Who went to university and studied hospitality or events? Okay, not bad. About 40% of the room. But that means the other 60% of you studied something else, right? And that's a challenge, because we want to find these people coming into the industry, but if we're not finding them from education, if there's not a direct stream from education into the industry, that makes it a little bit more tricky, right? And what I'm hearing from universities is that a lot of courses in hospitality and events are being canceled. There's not enough students for those courses to run. And that's a real problem when you want to build your teams up, when you want to build your company up, find people to take those jobs. And of course, with AI doing some of that intern work, that could be even more of a challenge, right? And this is where we see a mega trend happening here. A lot of it, I think, comes from mentorships, apprenticeships, opportunities to do those kind of things. But we still need to make sure that the industry sounds attractive. We need to make sure young people look at events. First of all, they understand that there is a job in organizing meetings and events, which I think a lot of young people don't, and then make the career attractive. Because I think a lot of times we talk about travel being this amazing perk of organizing events, but sometimes we travel to the most amazing locations and we're sitting up in the hotel room on our computers all the time and not actually enjoying the destination. Who's been in that situation before? Yeah, I think all the agencies in the room be like, yep, that sounds about right. And so these perks, what makes the events industry so exciting, maybe is not so exciting. And we're definitely not winning on salaries. We're not paying more than other industries. And I have not heard one leader in the meetings and events industry that says, yes, we're going to compete on salaries with banking, with technology. It's not going to happen. So how do you attract young people? How do you attract the next wave of talent? They'll travel, but they'll be stuck in their hotel rooms. They won't be paid very well. I'm not sure this is a good sales pitch here. But anyway, I am raising the challenge, and I think we all need to address this. And I think Gerda-Marie is going to speak a little bit later about legacy. I think legacy can mean lots of different things, but this is also part of legacy. How do we make this industry really work for everybody? And how do we attract that next generation to come in? And the last one, the cost cliff. Now, this is a phrase that I heard from the CES past president, Gary Shapiro, said, with everything getting more expensive, with the price of oil, with the price of food, with the price of hotels, everything's getting more expensive, events may get to a point where they're just too expensive to run. And none of us in the room want that to happen, but I think everybody that's in the room is dealing with that. Has anybody's budget this year increased more than 10% over last year? No, I didn't see a single hand stand up. I mean, that's a bit of a complex question. But who's feeling like they need more budget? They can't really afford to do the things that they really want to do. Yeah, probably not a new problem, but I think it's definitely increasing. I mean, Maurice already mentioned this earlier. If you'd asked me what this is 6 months ago, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. It's a map of somewhere, right? What is this? Does anybody know? Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, where something like 25% of the world's oil is stuck right now because, unfortunately, there is a conflict going on. And that is a serious problem. And of course, everything gets more expensive when oil gets more expensive. And the geopolitical implications are tremendous. But I've already talked a little bit about this. Companies are saying, oh, we don't have as much budget, or things are more expensive. So what used to be a 4-day event is now a 1.5-day event. Right? So of course, that is less budget. That's going to be less money going towards the supply side of the industry. But it doesn't mean that they're going to do, only 30% of the cost, right? They're going to spend a little bit more on that day and a half. And I think with Luxembourg being so well located in terms of Europe, you have the opportunity where a lot of companies, especially from the European Union, can come very quickly into Europe. I know this finger points at Germany. I was made very clear by the team at the LCB that this was a complicated image. But the idea is that Luxembourg is so well located, right, that you can get business from so many different countries around Europe, and lots of countries that are looking again to make those events smaller, to be more flexible, to figure out what they're going to do. And I think part of the solution, and I know Sven Baltes is here to talk about partnerships, and that's kind of the question that I want to ask him. I think part of the solution is companies are finding different ways to run their events. They're smaller, they're more flexible, but I think one of the things that companies really want to do, and particularly when it comes to associations, is connect with industry, is to find sponsors, is to find different ways to fund their events. And this is a bit of an abstract picture, but it's actually a factory in I believe, Thailand, or Vietnam, I think, Vietnam. And what they did was they had these very ugly chimneys that were coming out of this factory, and they came up with this very creative way of getting some extra sponsorship by creating these gigantic bottle taps on the chimneys. Now, of course, this isn't something that you're going to do for every event or anything like that, but I love the creativity here. I love the idea that when you partner with different people, you can find ways that those companies that are maybe saving some money by making the event shorter, can they extend? Can they do a field trip? Can they connect with a local company that can really progress them on their journey? And so I think the Luxembourg Convention Bureau's job is really important in doing that and connecting the dots. So final megatrend that I want to touch upon is sourcing crunch, very related to the one I just talked about, but it's the idea that companies and associations are taking longer to make decisions. Does anybody see that in terms of bookings coming into the event? You get those kind of proposals, you send out a proposal and you hear nothing. And then you're kind of waiting, come on, you have to make a decision because I have somebody else that wants the space, I have somebody else that's going to have the business. And so what we're seeing a lot is this crunch, this sourcing crunch where people aren't making decisions, and sometimes when they make a decision, that's no longer an option. Sometimes the hotel or the venue says, I'm sorry, but we had to sell that space. We had to use those rooms somewhere else. Right? And so businesses are really hesitating right now for all the reasons that we said earlier. In America, we have things like funding completely disappearing overnight. We have people suddenly having no funding from the Institutes of Health, for example. And that's a massive issue. That's changing the way events are being organized. And we have partially empty rooms, unfortunately. And that's a real challenge. I think mega challenge. So I'll end with this fun image. This is actually from the IMEX Frankfurt trade show from last year. This was the Luxembourg Convention Bureau's stand with Minister Thill is in the image as well, and a lot of the partners in the room. And I just want to leave with the message that I think the Convention Bureau has a really interesting job. You'll hear from Bettina later about how you're doing and how you're making this all happen. But this idea that the Convention Bureau is out in international world bringing events in, and they need you to come together so that that proposal can be as strong as possible. And I think that's the way to really weather these megatrends that are impacting us. If you're interested in downloading the report, there's a QR code for you. It's a free report. You just have to enter your email address, etc. and it has these megatrends. This is from the beginning of the year. I've updated in this presentation with lots of examples and ideas that we've come from that. And then in December, we'll have the megatrends for next year, so look out for those. And I hope you enjoy some Skift research and some of our Skift work. So thank you very much for your attention. I now have the pleasure of inviting 5 experts on the stage that are really going to let us dive into this in a little bit more detail. So please, will you join me on the stage? I'll take a quick glass of water. All right. Now you don't have to listen to me anymore, which is great, right? But hopefully you find this interesting. I think the megatrends lay a really interesting idea of global perspective. And now we can get into these topics a little bit in more detail. Now, I'm going to start with the first speaker. Anna, you're the CEO and founder of Isla, right? I want you to explain to us why that is. Because why I want to do these introductions is I want you to understand why you should listen to these 5 people. Because you might be sitting here going, okay, now there's 5 strangers on stage, and they're going to be talking about, but why are they experts in this? So explain to me, first of all, what Isla is, and take us back to why you decided to create Isla, because you worked in events. You were producing events. You were on the agency side, if you will. Yep. But a few years ago, you decided, I am going to build a non-profit for event sustainability.
Yes and no.
Yes and no, okay.
Hi.
It's a tough one.
I didn't decide that I was going to build a non-profit for sustainability. What I did was start talking about some big problems and challenges that I understood for the industry that were foundationally about sustainability. Carbon, waste, not diversity inclusion. That wasn't an area that I was focusing on. But I started having conversations saying there's some problems here. It was one event when I was working with an agency for a tech client, and I had a €500,000 budget to spend on graphics for a 2-day event. And at the end of that 2-day event, that €500,000 was going in the bin. And it made no sense to me that that was happening. It was an 8,000 person developer conference. And I thought, I have huge economic power right now to put my money somewhere that has more value than plastic fabric that is going into an incinerator. And I tried to find alternative materials. I tried to find alternative end-of-life management. I couldn't, and I was frustrated, and I started talking about that frustration. And do you have an answer? Do you know what to do? Have you got a supplier? And the answer was no, 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 no. But if you find one, let me know. If you find one, let me know. The conversation spiraled, and I realized that this was something that so many people cared about. Just, it doesn't make sense. And so I started having that conversation with a number of UK agency leaders, and I proposed a report, that we publish a report about sustainability within the industry to understand where were we putting our money, and where could we therefore collectively intervene, use our collective buying power to put our money somewhere else. And that was understood. It made sense. The agency leaders all said, yep, sure, someone else is going to address this problem for us. Brilliant. And what happened was I ended up starting a business, which was never my intention. And I ran an association for 5 years. That was the economic model that we had, the commercial model, helping businesses to develop their staff in understanding sustainability, in understanding how to plan their events differently. And I got distracted along the way by running the business and focused less on this issue, which is how does the industry intervene? How does the industry redirect capital into practices that are preserving money? And I think the megatrend of the cost cliff is a result of not having that mentality. The money comes in and it goes in the bin. The money comes in and it goes in the bin.
It's allocated to events, and therefore it's
input,
it's
output.
okay. Yeah.
It doesn't stay within the system. We haven't built an industry economy where we retain the money within the industry. Yeah. So that's a long,
but you
short
built
story.
ILA. So ILA supports event agencies, but you also built a measurement tool, right? You went straight for the tackling of one of the most complex areas of it, which is not just advocating that we should be more sustainable, but how do we measure it and how do we improve that?
Yeah, so the original premise was a report, and I didn't know how to get the data we needed without measuring the industry. And because at the time in 2019, 2020, carbon was a big conversation. It was an interesting conversation. It was a public conversation, which is the first time anything like that had ever happened. And I could see that if we could measure carbon and measure waste and map that against spend, we would be able to change how we spend we'd have the data about our most impactful carbon and waste areas that we can directly control and change how we're spending in those areas. So we built a measurement platform called Trace, which is kind of cool. I didn't expect to run software either. So I was running an association, non-profit, and a software founder, two very different businesses.
And last year you had a report that tracked how many events? It was close to 1,000 events that you managed to track the sustainability.
Yeah, so Trace has been in the market for about 4 years now and has measured around 5,000 or 6,000 events globally in 196 countries in 1,200 unique venues, so huge data sets. Last year we looked at 970 events that took place in Europe in 2024 and looked at the profiles, the emissions of those events. What we were able to see with such a big data set is that events, emissions and waste are very different. A congress versus a gala versus an exhibition or a activation, they have different emission profiles. They have different waste profiles. And what's so important about that is that in the industry, the advice or the way we act is very blanket. Reduce travel, reduce red meat, reduce material wastage. Yes, all really good, but a different event will have a different biggest impact. So for a gala dinner, for something that's food-based, focusing on audience travel or on venue energy is not your biggest impact area. It's the food that you choose to serve and where that food is coming from and the water use in that food.
So it can inform organizers to understand where they should be focusing their efforts on when they're trying to be more sustainable.
Because right now we're trying to focus everywhere. It's tactical, it's unguided, it's unstrategic, and that's a waste of time. It's a waste of effort, it's a waste of energy. Who has spare time in their job? So the big part is about giving people information on where to act. Focus on food if it's a gala, focus on materials if it's an exhibition. That's the insight there.
Perfect. Sven, over to you. I'm Portuguese living in Denmark. We have the UK represented here by Anna, and now Sven, back to Luxembourg. Indeed. You're an entrepreneur, and you are the CEO of Jonk Entrepreneur in Luxembourg. And you're really also trying to connect the dots between entrepreneurship and then events and bringing events, right?
Yeah, indeed. So I'm Sven. It's a year now that I'm the director of GEL. I'm around for 10 years, however, already in this innovation and entrepreneurial bubble here in Luxembourg. With Young Entrepreneur, what we are doing is trying to connect in a very horizontal and transversal manner the dots between the business side of things and the education side of things. Because you mentioned before in your Megatrends talent gap, accessing the right talent. And for us, the key question is a bit, how do we make sure that the future generations, which are exposed to so many different types of informations, study fields, etc., how can we make sure that those people are actually ready for life, A, and B, for their career? So there's a bunch of skills that they need in order to be viable and to make it happen throughout their life and career, which are ownership taking, innovation, creativity, resilience. I think fits the current trends also quite well. And what we do is we are organizing these programs which for people between 9 and 25 to kind of stimulate their initial interest on developing skills that are relevant to their life afterwards. And what we are doing is organizing those very much with volunteers. You mentioned I will speak a bit about partners, and that's what we are doing, that's our day-to-day. Being in touch with different kind of parties, both from the public side of things, from the private side of things, that can lend us a helping hand actually, and that share experiences, anecdotes, perspectives from adult life kind of, in order to prepare those young people. And in that scope we organize events on the national level to bring those people together, to allow them to compete, allow them to have a bit of a peer-to-peer learning element also. And last year we also prepared a bigger event together with the Luxembourg Convention Bureau, so big shout out again to them, which was a big success, where we will bring next year the biggest entrepreneurship festival for youth to Luxembourg from a European perspective by bringing over 40 delegations, over 40 countries here.
How many people are you expecting to be at that event?
We are expecting 1,000 people approximately, but from a very, very international perspective. Youth, entrepreneurs, partners,
yep.
And of course we'll take a very, very qualitative approach in creating an experience for them next year here in the country.
Super interesting, because really you're opening up who is an event organizer is very broad, and you probably don't see yourself as an event organizer, but suddenly you're bringing 1,000 people to Luxembourg.
Clearly, and that's an interesting perspective, because from all of the people in the panel, probably we are the ones, maybe with Gel, that are organizing the least events per year, or track the least events, as you are tracking a lot of them. But we are finding ourselves now in the position of thinking purpose, thinking why. Why are we doing it? Why are we bringing those people to Luxembourg? What do they want to experience? Who are they? How can we create value for them? And that will be the topic for later on also, how do we create legacy? Because the event should not be a standalone thing. 1, 2, 3 day thing, coming to Luxembourg, having a big boom kind of. No, it's all about also creating afterwards the bridges towards other partners. And that's something we're quite good here at Luxembourg. We actually think from the very beginning very often, okay, I have to organize something, I want to organize something, who can I involve? And ways are short here in Luxembourg, so there's always people that you have met previously that you think about and that can actually help you to achieve your goals, your objectives and the purpose of the event, by also not neglecting actually post-event impact.
Yep. Hearing a lot of partnership on how easy it is to connect the dots, which is great. Carlotta, over to you. Italian. You have a double hat, really, which is you're from Florence, yes. And you represent Florence as general manager of the foundation, yes. Right, in Florence, but you're also president of the Italian Convention Bureau. So you're connecting the dots in Florence, which is a major Italian city. You're also connecting the dots at an Italian country level. And now you're here in Luxembourg to tell us all how to do that, right?
Good morning, everyone. It's working?
Yeah.
I am very happy to be here, and I want to thank, first of all, the Convention Bureau for inviting me, and the Minister. It's like a dream, listening your words and doing my job. As a destination manager, I really appreciate this event and listening the Minister saying such important things about our industry from a political but also a technical point of view, and the same for the Deputy Mayor, of course. Mm-hmm. And yes, I spent my whole life building networks and putting together people, companies, politicians, first of all in Florence, and then on a national level, based on my expertise in Florence as a destination manager.
So let me ask you something there. What's your favorite part of your job? And what's the part that you don't like as much?
I love my job, of course. The favorite part is really building networks and doing such like a cultural mediator or like a translator between the language by the companies and the one of the institutions and politicians. I love my job because you can touch the result of the job. You can change the destination. You can contribute in the development of a destination. And what I don't like is it's very stressful. I look like I'm 50, but I'm 25. And, but you know, I think I'm very happy anyway. It's a little bit stressful, but it gives me a lot of joy. Anyway.
We were talking yesterday about how many coffees you have every day, and yes. there's a stress level related to the amount of coffee you drink.
My mission is to put all the people around a table, and people with different languages, different perspectives, different point of view, but with a common vision, a shared vision. And this is, I think, is a great opportunity because you learn a lot and you give back. So finally, I think that is a great job.
Well, thank you for being here and sharing your insights. I think we'll hear a bit more about that. Thorben, until a few years ago, you were the only Luxembourg citizen that I really had the pleasure of connecting with. Now I've connected with a few more. But you live in Hamburg. You've been leading the sort of European division of EventMobi, an event tech company, apps, registration, etc., for a long time. And you've recently kind of jumped onto the AI side of the business, right? You've become the head of AI. Tell me a little bit about what makes you the AI guy for EventMobi.
I think, so in terms of my role, what makes me the AI guy for the company is that my role is to help everybody at our company, but also event planners in the events industry in general, understand AI better and make better use of AI and make meaningful use of AI. I think what makes me hopefully a relatively good candidate for that is that nobody has any idea how AI works and what we're going to do with it. And what helps people to work successfully with it is curiosity. And so I'm a naturally curious person. I like to try things out. I like to break things occasionally. And so that's where this is coming from. And this is also what I'm trying to instill in my team, that it's not about just using it for the sake of using it, but it's about being curious, about experimenting, and about also questioning what you read, what you hear, and what you see, and see what works for you.
Okay, looking forward. If anybody has questions about AI, we'll all mob Thorben over lunch, so please do come and have a chat. We're all staying for lunch, so we'd love to connect. Gerda-Marie, last but definitely not least, you also representing a CVB, a destination management organization, wonderful Copenhagen. But your background is not in this industry. I hear you're a pharmacist working in life sciences, and now you're leading up a project on legacy for wonderful Copenhagen. How did that happen?
Yes, so thank you. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you for inviting me here today. And we just had a new government actually in Denmark yesterday, and we have a new minister for our industry, and I would just have loved for her to hear the minister today speak about the industry in that nice words. So maybe I can send her a recording, I don't know. So it's true, I have a very different background as a pharmacist, working many years in the life science industry, and people are always like, what are you doing in wonderful Copenhagen? But we have a lot of the life science congresses coming to Copenhagen, and I really feel it's a very strong background to have when you have the discussion with the associations of what type of legacy initiatives could you do. So where can you make a societal change? What's in the interest of the association, and what is going on in Denmark within life science in this particular part, but of course also other industries when other congresses come to Denmark. So having this knowledge about the area makes me able to connect with the right people and really to create some really interesting legacy initiatives. And I actually also use AI sometimes to say this congress is coming. what is going on in Denmark? Are there any new projects or upcoming strategies or people that we could connect to this Congress to make something interesting? And then again, also this network, as we are looking into today, it's so important because then I think, oh, yesterday I talked to this person, which might have something interesting that we could connect with the Congress. So network is also extremely important, I think.
Okay. Sticking with that thought, so at what point in the conversation does the legacy lab come in? Because I'm thinking, people in the audience, they're working in hotels, venues, all these different companies. Is it, somebody made a booking, I'm going to call up the legacy lab? How does that work? At what point in those conversations does it make sense?
It's actually always very early now. We are becoming better at putting in it already in the bidding phase. It's a little bit difficult sometimes because it's usually confidential that we are bidding on a congress, so we can't reach out to a lot of stakeholders. But we can come up with ideas in the bid to say, if you want to come to Copenhagen, we can provide this free service, we will work with you, try to create some impact that will last long in Copenhagen after you leave. And maybe also something that you can bring as an association back and use in the next country that you're going to visit, do some legacy there. And I think there's also a huge potential there that the cities become better at connecting. For example, we had sclerosis congress, multiple sclerosis, a couple of years ago where we did a patient day. And they went on to Barcelona the year after, and we talked to the Convention Bureau in Barcelona, told them what we had done and what could be improved, ideas to do it the next year. And they did a huge, great legacy initiative the year after, and that's going to continue to the next city. So I think there's a good potential there.
So not just the benefit for the city, but also continuing the legacy of the legacy.
Exactly, yeah.
Very good. Okay, we are taking questions for the audience, so we'll save some time at the end. If you have questions, just and we'll have somebody come over with a microphone, so we'd love to get some questions from the audience. But I have plenty of questions for now. Carlotta, I want to come back to you. You mentioned politics, and of course one of the big megatrends that I talk about was geopolitics. But talking about politics kind of within the country, within the city, within the country, every 4 years in most countries, everything has the potential to change. And
Not in Italy.
Not in Italy.
Every 4 or 5 months.
Every 4 or 5 months. Okay, so even less. But change happens a lot, and suddenly political swings, perceptions on legacy, sustainability, etc., kind of change sometimes. What's your advice to people here, right? Because we can hear these big ideas of, we all need to work together, we all need to collaborate. But I think everybody in the audience has managers, has owners that are pressuring them to get business, to do different things. What's your advice to the Luxembourg Convention Bureau and to people in the audience of how to make that work, how to have those dialogues in the most constructive way?
I think Luxembourg is already doing a great job because this room is full of operators and companies of the industries and politicians as well. So you are doing already a great job. As I said, when I arrived in Florence, it was like 2010. We had really few members, very little political support, limited resources. And of course, we had the mission to increase the company, to grow the company, and the strategy has been a bottom-up approach, so always listening and putting companies around the table, companies with different interests, but also cluster, so with same interests, building together the future of the company, the vision of the destination. I think that this is a very important passage because it's critical to share where we want to go together, and especially it's very important to understand that a destination is really competitive if all the supply chain is together. Sometimes all the stakeholders think that the competitors is the hotel nearby. But when we act as a destination, the competitor is another destination. So We have started, of course, with the business development because, you know, I'm arrived, just few members, no political support, no money. So what I asked at the beginning was trust. This, I promise you that we will grow in the ICA ranking, that we will do this and that, but we have to do together. And at the very beginning, you have to trust us and to trust in our project. And how we realized the project, putting people all together around the table. We have started with hotels, for example. We have established a commission, Congress Commission of 10, 15 hoteliers representing the whole hospitality in Florence. And with them, we have built specific rates to put in the bid. Then we have started to work with PCOs. Of course, the PCOs at the beginning were not so happy about the Convention Bureau because they thought we were like competitors. So we sit at the same table and we have decided together the rules, how we can develop business, how we choose our ambassador, which kind of event we want to have here, and how we build the bid together. And we have done this with all the supply chain. Mm-hmm. Step by step, the community was growing and growing and growing, and you know that the only way to have attention by a local institution is to be representative. And when you represent more than the 50% of the local industry, you have to be listened. And it's like a virtuous circle. I don't know if it has sense in English. Un circolo virtuoso. No, most of you speak Italian. And un circolo virtuoso. And finally, the politicians started to talk to us. They start to understand the value of our job, which is not only numbers, we have already said. And we have built a very big community. Today, we transform in a public-private foundation. So we are really proud because Municipality of Florence and the Metropolitan City of Florence decided to take our company, to buy our company, to be the founders of a new foundation together with the private. And this, of course, has been a great success for all the companies in Florence, for all the people working at this project.
Okay. Sven, this sounds a little bit like the work that you're doing, I think, but on the entrepreneurial side. How do you see the parallels there, and how do you see, I guess, the concept of entrepreneurs and kind of helping in making this work?
Yeah, indeed. I think we are, as I mentioned before, we are underway very much in a transversal world where we have to look left and right. Who can support us? Who can contribute? And who can help us achieve ultimate objectives? One word that triggered me quite a lot, I think, was competition. You mentioned, because I actually find that one is something that in Luxembourg, it's not our first reflex to think competition. It's our first reflex is to think, how can we make it together? So who can really support us? And that's what I think is very, very important when it comes to creating event experiences and creating highly qualitative outputs.
Yeah, great. I want to come to you, Anna, on sustainability, because I know that you're doing struggles or challenges to kind of get everybody on the same page. But I wanted to get a little raise of hands from the audience. Who has a green sustainability certificate at their venue, hotel, or business? Who has a green certificate of some sort? Okay, that's about, I don't know, maybe 60%, 70% of the audience? Well, that's part of the question, right? I mean, these certificates can range from something that's measured very complete to something that's quite basic. But I wanted to come to, you know, Luxembourg, I think most European countries, I see Canada and Australia as the examples of destinations that are really putting sustainability as one of their credentials, putting sustainability as one of the things that they go out to the market and say, hey, we are a sustainable destination. That can mean many different things, but we are promoting ourselves. This is a green event today. You know, you're not serving with plastic cutlery. You're doing lots of different things to keep it as low carbon as possible. I'm sure that's not a negative thing in your mind, but is that enough? Is that enough to get the stamp that say that we're green and to kind of use it as a promotional tool? Go on, Anna.
No.
Okay, tell us why.
just before I do, can I ask a quick question? Just so we know we've got venues, hotels, agencies, and some other representatives, but if you're a senior decision maker making decisions for the business, can you raise your hand? And if you act in a managerial role and you're sort of supporting and making decisions that benefit your clients? Okay, thanks. Sorry, just helpful to understand the spread. I personally don't really like certifications and stamps and standards. Standards, okay. My reasoning for that viewpoint, and that's my personal viewpoint, is that you get to a certain level and then you stop on the whole and you maintain your certification. Most people within an organization, though, don't actually know what that means. Very often, one or two or a handful of dedicated people will go around and they'll ask surveys and they'll ask the different operators, the managers, for information. Can we prove that we are doing these things that the certification requires? But that's not it's not a holistic picture, and it's not owned. That certification isn't owned by individuals, it's owned by the business. Mm-hmm. And there are so many of them. There are so many certifications and accreditations that I don't know what half of them mean. It doesn't mean anything.
If you don't know what half of them mean, then we don't really stand a chance.
Yeah,
right?
There's a stamp. Okay, so it's good. Fine. But I don't know if that's true. And when you look at the world and the macroeconomic realities, the resource constraints, the talent challenges, the energy crises, the cost of living crises, when you look at all of the compounding challenges that we face at this macro geoeconomic and geopolitical scale, I think it indicates that accreditation certification isn't helping to change any of those things because they're not disconnected. Mm-hmm. These issues that we are seeing at these macro levels are not disconnected from our day-to-day challenges. Energy crisis pushes up the cost of everything everywhere. And that's because whether it's business or government, the pace of investment into green energy, into the green energy transition has been too slow and not enough money. The capital has not been directed to that space quickly enough, or with enough conviction to prevent these crises, which are predictable. Okay. Because oil and gas is a finite resource anyway, but it's also a very political resource. It's owned by a handful of very large corporations whose goal is to make money and to exploit that natural resource. And so by just the natural route it will follow, there will be an energy crisis, there will be an energy shortage, there will be cost crises. And so if certifications and accreditations were really driving change in business, we would be seeing a change in the pace of investment into this green transition from businesses, from organizations, and from governments. So I think that's why my personal opinion is that I don't think they're enough. I think they're useful tools for operators on a day-to-day to think differently about how they might work, but they're insufficient to drive the transition we need.
Okay, we're keeping on a very practical note.
Yes.
They're not enough, but what can the people in the room do about it? Because if you're working in a property, is it about raising your hand and saying, I want to get involved, I want to understand what we're doing to be more sustainable? Is that the solution, or what can people in the room actually do?
I think it's a combination of, ILA only exists because I complained about what was happening to anybody who would listen, and I was frustrated. Progress comes from struggle. And so I think it's really important to say, I want a better, cleaner, greener, fairer future. That's what I want for me. It's what I want for my community, my children, my grandchildren. How do we make that happen within our organization? But the power is, I talked about economic buying power. The power lives with the senior leaders, those decision makers who decide where to invest, the long-term strategy of an organization that are there. They are paid to manage risk, to build organizational resilience. So I think that there should be a demand to leadership. What are you doing to make our lives and jobs easier and greener and cleaner and fairer? And there should be, I don't like the word sustainability as a topic, as a theme, and I'm very associated with the word sustainability. It's just a strategy. It's a smart business strategy. If you are investing in renewable energy, you are more protected from price volatility. You can protect your margins better. You can forecast into the future better. It is a smart, efficient business strategy. And so from that practical level, make small tweaks as an operator, as a manager. Do the things that you can do. Make the different choice. Yes, but the choices available to you are limited by what decision makers make available. So I really think that leaders must be held accountable and responsible for the decisions that they are making for the long-term resilience of the business, which is about where they put money and how they direct capital within their organization. So from a practical level, push, ask, keep it front of mind. There's a limit to what you can individually do, but if everybody is doing it and saying it, it becomes
But there is hope
psyche.
for a bottom-up approach. There is hope for pressure from the bottom?
Yeah.
Or from the middle, I guess?
Yeah, from the bottom and the middle. I think you need force and you need push and you need gravitas, and leaders need to know that it's important to employees and clients. But yes, I think push your leaders.
Yeah. Sven, you sound like you...
Just want to complement something. I fully agree, and I think it also brings it back to the beginning of an event. I believe that those certifications, those elements, those kind of tick the boxes, it's a very reactive mode. You get the paper, you have a look at it, you react to it, and you try to fulfill and comply the criteria. But I believe it's something, and I agree also with Gerda, as you mentioned before, legacy, green, sustainable, ethical thinking. It brings it all back to the moment of the starting point. Think the event, think the experience, and think what you want to make happen, and take all of the elements, put them together, and get kind of a recipe out that creates the experience that you actually want to go for. Move away from the reactive side of things, take a role model position, and try to push hard for what you are convinced about. Because in the end, all of this also has a signaling function. And when you go to an event and you feel like, hey, this is ethical, this is green, it's well thought through actually what you want to achieve, then actually also the people, the attendees, they feel what you want to go for.
Yep.
I would just echo that as my experience of coming to Luxembourg. And I think the idea around how, as a city, the public transport, and as a country, public transport being free, is an incredible initiative to encourage travel by public transport. It's part of an experience. It's a legacy. It's something I take away. I came here and got on the tram and I didn't pay, and I text everybody I knew at home saying, oh my God, the public transport's free.
Did you notice the sign at the airport as you're leaving the luggage? There's a sign that says public transportation is free, just jump on the next train.
Yeah, I didn't notice, but that's the sort of, we need these big system changes which come from government decisions, they come from policy. It's really important to be electing in as well officials that are standing on those policies, because they make everything better for everybody and the experience. It's very ideological. It's
Sure.
difficult in the workplace to make different decisions. You need to close the deal, you need to support the client, you need to deliver the event and run it through. But it's not about the individual event. You can make different choices on those. It's the big picture. It's the year-to-year, year-on-year, long-term push. And I think it's trying to bring that into the psyche of an organization.
Yep. Gerda-Marie, wanted to come to you. Legacy, I think we've been talking sustainability and legacy have a nice overlap. You're very experienced on the life sciences side, but you want to attract events from all sorts of different industries, different verticals, etc. How do you have those conversations where you can position an event as something bigger than a piece of business? bigger than, you know, a thing that happens for a few days?
Well, I think coming with good examples of what we have done previously is the most important thing, actually, because if you say the word legacy, people go like, oh, and then they don't really want to hear anymore because they don't know what it is. So explaining that this is just a way of making a change. So we always ask, what is the change you would like to see when you have left Copenhagen in a year or 2 years after? What are people doing differently? And I really think that's where we also, as an industry, has a huge potential to do something more, not only on the economic side, but on value creation in many different ways, and actually tackle some of the societal problems that we have. In Copenhagen, we are still seen a lot as a tourist industry that creates jobs for the hotels and restaurants and so on. But we are starting now to convince people that we can do much more. And for example, we have a gaming week congress every year, which is really for the young people. But here we invited 300 seniors because we know they are getting into the fraud on the internet. They push on the wrong buttons and all their money are stolen. So we made a legacy.
So let's pause there so that everybody explains. So you have a gaming event.
Yes.
And you're inviting the older generation, the retired generation, to come and learn how not to get scammed.
Yeah, so it was part of the whole big event. We had a side event with 300 seniors, and we had someone from the police and from the banks and so on telling them what should you be aware of. If they call you, be aware if they say this and this, and really helping them. And it's a huge problem in Denmark. So this was just, we were thinking, what could we use this Congress for to do something good for our society? Yep. So, and another example is we had a dementia Congress, and we know a lot of people who start getting dementia, they should exercise more, and if they start running, it would actually delay the disease. So we started running teams for these people with early dementia, and now they're going to run, and this is exactly where we try to couple a congress within dementia, and then an event, because we have the half marathon VM event in the fall. So these people with dementia will run at the VM half marathon this fall. So I think that's also something that we do that benefits people in our society.
Carlotta?
Yes, I just want to add, because I agree that legacy is a very abstract concept and is not so easy to say, okay, let's work on legacy. So what we have decided to do in Florence, for example, we have established an advisory board with people coming from hospitals, different kind of universities and local institutions, and we work in advance. So we share where the city wants to go, or which kind of department the university wants to improve and develop. And so with the ICA database, we're gonna choose the congresses in theme with that. And we try to develop through the congresses also this kind of vision that the administration has, university has. For example, in the recent past, we have worked on, we hosted the Congress about mobility, because our destination is investing a lot in new transportation system, or we are investing a lot, for example, in pediatry, because we have a huge hospital with specialized in this and who is developing projects. So we try to
Can you break that down for us in terms of, okay, so as a convention bureau, you identify, okay, the city or the government wants to invest in a specific topic.
Yes.
Let's say it's AI.
Yes.
Okay. You want to invest in AI, and you kind of say, okay, we're going to go out and find events that are about this topic.
Yes.
How do you talk with the suppliers, with your members, to get their support to say, yes, we're going to work together on this so that they understand the importance? And what are you expecting them to how are they contributing to the development of the city?
So this part is managed by the Convention Bureau because,
That's you, right?
Yes, me and my colleagues. And so, as I said, the first thing is to work with the institution and with the representative of academics, universities, and hospitals. And once we decide to invest in this or that sector, we start the job of the bidding process. So we look for our local ambassadors or national ambassadors. And when we have to build the proposal, of course, we work with the supply chain. But this is something quite, let me say, automatic right now, because the bidding process is something we invest really on and is our core business, and we produce about 50, 60 bids per year. And so it's very quick, the job we do with the supply chain. And as I said, we have agreements also with cluster of companies, and so we are able to prepare documents in a very short terms. But the most important thing is to work behind the scene with the university, with professor, with the research department.
So it's more on the identifying side that's really
now,
important.
for example, we are, maybe I should not say, I don't know.
Is there a secret to be revealed?
We are working a lot on robotics, for example, because it's something our university is developing a lot, and we have a new deputy mayor really focus on that. And so we work a lot with our professors, with ambassadors, and we build international networks with them, and once we are ready, we bid.
There you go. Sven, looks like you want to...
maybe to complement very concretely also from our case together with the Convention Bureau from last year, what we did, you get this bidding book, you have a look at it, it's complex to some extent, you analyze it, but at some point, especially if you don't have experience, because it's the first time we did this, at some point you realize, hey, okay, all of those more logistical, all of those where to do stuff like that, you tick the boxes and you can realize it quite quickly. So what we did very early in the game is actually we went over to the more primary part of not conducting research, but speaking to people. So we sat together with our two reference ministries, the Ministry of the Economy, the Ministry of the Education on the one side, with the two chambers here in Luxembourg, and said like, hey, this is what we have, this is what we are working with from a book perspective, this is what we stand for, this is our DNA at Young Entrepreneuren and what we live every day. How can we bring it together? How do we make the bridge towards the legacy? In our specific case, that's all of this more socioeconomic impact that we want to create at the end of the event. And that's how kind of we put together in the end a story that we could tell during the defense of our paper. So that's very important, I think, early in the game, that you move away from those static elements and that you actually go over to the more human side of things, because in the end it all comes back to one thing: it's people business. It's business of people for people, and that's the focus.
Absolutely. One quick question for you. You deal with startups, entrepreneurship, etc. Do you think that startups are aware of the power of events? Because startups want to grow quickly, right? And events have that potential to connect the dots. Do you think that there's work to be done there, or do you think that they're fully aware?
I believe they are aware of the power of events, but there's a lot of work to be done in terms of actually channeling the wide and the more tailored and qualitative approach towards them. Because they see those big events, they see Slush, they see Web Summit, they see VivaTech, they see the Bits and Pretzels of the world, and they feel like, oh, everyone is coming together there, it's the whole ecosystem. But actually, it's all about showcasing, hey, there's an event, maybe a niche event, that can actually add value to what I want to achieve, what I have in the pipe, be it finding customers, be it finding investors, focus of Slush a bit. And I think that's something that is being done better and better, not just having those big halls, bringing all of those people together and try to hope for the best. But in the end, it's all about giving the child a name and focusing on what can actually be done in terms of business opportunity creation.
Yeah. Gerda-Marie, you had a comment?
I definitely think there's a huge potential to make, for example, startups aware of what our business can also do. We just a couple of weeks ago, we had two conferences within health tech, which we thought maybe we could use this for something. So we created what we call the Copenhagen Health Innovation Week, which is hopefully going to continue going forward. So we partnered up with some of the usual organizations like Invest in Denmark and the Danish Confederation and Industry and all the people that are usually within that area. And then we did some events where we made sure that the investors coming to Copenhagen met the Danish startups. were invited to visit the new innovation district Copenhagen to see why should I put my company here. And really having wonderful Copenhagen on that stage with all the others, I think people were a little bit surprised, like, wonderful Copenhagen, do they have a role in this? And then they realized that the conferences can be used so much to really leverage things. So there's still a lot for us, at least, communication to do to make them aware that we have a role in this.
Anna, you had a comment?
Not valuable enough.
Not valuable enough. Okay.
I believe it's also speaking. It's also about speaking the same language. And I believe that's something. It's all about semantic noise, not understanding each other. Because in the end, what are startups about? Very often, two things: they want capital, and on the other side, they want to find customers. And at some point, they need the talent to make both of that happen. That's what startups are looking at.
Very quickly as well.
Very quickly, they don't have time. So I believe that's what also is what it's all about. If you market a general purpose event kind of without giving it the name, as I've spoken about before, and without showing the startups what they can actually go for, or the ventures in general, don't necessarily startups, they feel like, hey, I have to invest my times differently. And I believe there it's all about creating also the bridge in terms of communication.
Yep. Just want to remind you that we have 2 microphones here for questions, so please let us know if you have a question. We'd love to get some questions for the audience. I want to come to you, Thorben. We haven't heard from you for a little while. I feel like AI is kind of everywhere in the day-to-day conversation, but I wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit about what we've been talking about here. Communication, doing research, finding the ambassadors, that kind of thing. Do you feel like AI has an interesting role to play in this, in terms of kind of supporting this? Or do you feel that it's just everywhere and we're just going to use AI by default?
No, I think there's a good point there, because AI, even though we call it artificial intelligence, is not intelligence. But what it is really good at is going through huge amounts of data. And to the point that you brought up, Sven, if you have a bid book that is 600 pages, and this is the first time you're doing this, AI is a really good use case to go through that data and get help. On a similar note, a couple of years I was involved in a lawsuit with the city of Luxembourg, and I've never read the different story. And I never read legal text, and even though I grew up here, my legal French is very bad. But kind of getting AI to summarize information is very useful. And I think for event planners, if you have to process huge amounts of information, that's really great. The biggest problem is, and to your point earlier on about competent staff and training and so on, is that personally in my role at EventMobi, the biggest budget number that I have is not the tools that we buy, but it's the time of the people that we train. And training is so important, because we can all do these stupid photos of ourselves as action figures that we post on LinkedIn, but that's not helpful. There's this,
what do you mean?
It's maybe fun, but there's this famous study by the Harvard Business Review that about 80% of company AI initiatives fail, and that is a problem. And that is also, to everybody else's point, unsustainable, because AI costs a huge amount of financial and also environmental resources. And so if 80% of these initiatives go to waste, that is a really big problem. And actually, one thing that I discovered preparing for this session here is that Digital Luxembourg, which is the agency in Luxembourg that cares about digitization, they have an amazing online resource center with self-taught training courses on how to use AI properly, that start at the very basic level, from how do I prompt properly to the very advanced level of how do I run my own AI service in my company. The problem is that I think a lot of the time these initiatives don't get seen, and so if event planners want to use AI for their job or for their agency, it's not about having the best tool necessarily, but it's about having a tool, training people on it, and knowing how to use it. And this is something we miss so much.
I think it's a little bit like what you were saying with sustainability. It's not just about having a thing that checks the box, like we bought this tool, but actually we need to interiorize it into how we run the business, into the actions that we do, the processes that we take, etc. I think we have a question from the audience. Irina, hello.
I'm Irina. I have a blog, the Mice blog, so I cover also destinations and trends in the mice industry. And I have a question to the convention bureaus. So how much currently do you use AI in your daily business? Are you going to increase the usage of AI? And what are the tools that you are using on the daily basis?
You want to start? Carlotta?
So, of course, we have done also some training for the team last year. But to be honest, I think we are using quite basically. So just to make our job easier, to summarize big documents. Actually, we don't use to bid, for example, or we work also on the leisure side. We are a DMO. And basically, no, we don't use that much. I'm sure we will have to. And, but actually, it's not so important to us, I have to be honest. Mm-hmm. Of course, for the basic things, so write a presentation very quickly or reading something very big or a report, but we don't use, for example, for business development or to communicate with our clients, or we don't. We mainly use ChatGPT and Claude.
Mm. Yeah, it's exactly the same for us, unfortunately, I would say. But we are quite aware that we need to do something more. So we have a department day after summer where we're going to discuss further how can we dig more into this. And as we talk about, it's actually also our obligation to our employees, because if they want a new job in 2 years and they've done nothing on the AI side from our side, then it might be difficult for them to compete with others. So it's definitely something we'll do more about.
And if I just may add, I think one of the problems with how much AI do we use is also that there is still this conception that using more AI is better, and this leads sometimes to this perverse situation that a lot of companies are seeing, especially I think KPMG or Deloitte was one of the big ones that had a leaderboard of who was using the most tokens. Tokens is this weird unit of how much AI is being used. It's like watt, or liters, but for AI. And what that led to is that people just wrote programs that would just continuously burn tokens. People were proud that they individually were using up, I don't know, $1.5 million in tokens a year. But that doesn't correlate output. And if we don't correlate what we're investing with output, and this is, by the way, not new. This is called return on investment, and we have known about this for hundreds of years now. Then it's not helpful. Sorry, I'm getting angry.
We like the passion. Any other questions? I have a few more, but please do raise your hand if you want to ask a question. We want to make sure to answer your questions. I wanted to come back to ambassadors, because I think this is sort of a big topic when we talk about convention bureaus. And I wanted to check in the room, who is clear on what an ambassador is when it comes to conventions? Do you understand what that means? All right. All right. So there's a few brave people that... So Carlotta, can you define for us in as well simple terms? We know ambassadors in terms of countries. You represent Luxembourg in Japan. You're the ambassador of Luxembourg in Japan. But when we talk about ambassadors helping us bring events to a destination, what are we talking about? Who are these people?
Ambassadors are leaders, academic leaders, and people expert in their in their
fields,
in their fields, yeah. Very expert in their fields, and they are sometimes, I have to say, more important than the destination, or they have the same importance.
Can you give me like a very specific example so we can
without the ambassador you cannot bid, because if you want to win the World Congress of Dermatology, it's not enough to have the destination offer, so to offer the logistic and the venue and the meeting spaces. You have to have with you the scientific part. So the mainly is the president of the National Society of Dermatology, connected with the International Society, and he's gonna write the scientific program on one side, and on the other side he do this very important job, which is lobby. So
Lobbying.
try to convince colleagues or the board, depending on how the RFP works, to bring the event in your destination. So it's very important for a destination to work with ambassadors, and first of all, to know what is an ambassador, to identify the ambassador, and then to be sure that the ambassador knows what is the Convention Bureau, and to work together, basically.
So let me flip this on the other side. So I'm the president of the World, Association of Dermatology, right? I have a 5,000 person conference. For argument's sake, I don't know the exact details. We have 2026, 27 all booked. We're looking for 2029, and we're considering Luxembourg, Florence, Copenhagen, and London, right? So what happens at this point? You kind of look at it and you go, okay, these are interesting destinations. They seem to have the venues that I'm looking for. They have the providers, the hotels, etc. But now why do you need an ambassador now? Who is that ambassador? They are the head of the local association of dermatology. And usually they're part of the bigger international association, right?
It depends, it's not always the same, but normally the ambassador in the destination is the local ambassador, so is the professor from the destination or working in the destination with an important position in the national association.
So you're looking for the most senior person within the world of dermatology?
Yes, this on a local level.
At
but
your
as you
local
know,
level.
then we have also an Italian project, and so in that case, we work on an international level.
And I wanted to clarify that because I think the message, to the people in the room is they may not be at the Luxembourg Convention Bureau doing the research, find those people, but when they know who those people are, if they can connect the dots, everybody can help each other to find those ambassadors, right? To find those people who can then be like, hey, I want to bring this conference to Luxembourg.
Yes, of course. Of course, the destination have to work on that, so it's very important to work with university, to find this kind of professor, to go in the university, make presentation and spread the MICE culture, because very often an ambassador doesn't know to be an ambassador. And when he discovers he is an ambassador, he's afraid. Because, yes, of course, because, I cannot organize a congress, I'm a doctor, I'm very busy. So our job is to explain to them that they can be a doctor, and they will have the honors of the event, but we do the dirty job. So all the rest is made by.
So you're asking
on the other
somebody...
side, when you work a lot on that, of course, it's a slow process. Ambassadors start to contact the Convention Bureau because, of course, many of them, they knows they are ambassadors and they have potential congresses to bring into the destination.
So it's an interesting job. You're finding a senior leader within a vertical and you're kind of convincing them that they should be an ambassador. And you're saying, I'm going to do all the dirty work.
They learn very fast.
Yes,
they learn very fast.
But then you're saying, you have to go and lobby for us.
Yes.
And we're going to support you. We're going to give you the tools you need to lobby with this organization that has a large event so that you can convince them that coming to our destination is the right thing to do.
Yes, and of course, when you go to an ambassador, it's important to represent the destination, so not only the private sector, but to be supported by local politicians. They have to know that they are talking to the city and that you represent the city, you are neutral, and that your mission is to bring a huge event in the city for the benefits of all the industry.
Okay.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I feel like my background is in agencies. I came from the agency world, so corporate, like really corporate events, and I feel like agencies are so often not represented within these conversations. And I listen to the infrastructure that's available for kind of attracting these big congresses and associations, and I don't know if that infrastructure exists for the agencies attracting corporate clients, because those are huge spending events, they're often recurring events, and it's interesting because agencies have to go out and find their business themselves, and I don't know if that support exists to attract those corporate clients in. I'm curious.
There's an interesting challenge. I think Bettina will talk about this just
That's a nice segue, isn't it?
All right.
Not planned.
We're at time, so really appreciate you being on the stage with us today. Thank you to our panelists, Gerda-Marie, Thorben, Carlotta, Sven, and Anna. And next up.
Thank you so much. Muito obrigado, Miguel Neves, our wonderful moderator, speaker, influencer, and explainer of complex subjects. Sometimes I have the feeling when we are in the industry that we use abbreviations, that we use specific topics without thinking that maybe one or the other in the room may not understand. And I hope to all of you, gute Mittag, I hope to all of you that you get at least one or two ideas out of it. Probably you have heard a lot of, not probably, for sure, you heard a lot of subjects, interesting subjects that all reflects our industry. I would be happy if you take at least one or two ideas out of it to go home to make a change. And then this Luxembourg Business Events Day would be successful, because it's not just for gathering, it's for making an impact, it's for giving you support and for giving you ideas for your own business. Yeah, I just jumped in. I said, bonjour à toutes et à tous. Herzlich willkommen, gute Mittag. And yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to our really flagship event. It wasn't been able to do this event for quite a while, and now I'm very happy that we restarted this kind of platform, and I'm very happy that you all showed up. I know June is not the best month to have this kind of event, so we will like to have your feedback later on where we could maybe improve in the future. And we already heard from Miguel that there are quite a few venues here, there are caterers here, there are hotels, but I believe there are also some institutions we are already working with, some companies we are already working with, but who is from science or research or universities here in the room? There are some. Who are from like Chamber of Commerce, Chamber of des Métiers, some institutions that deal with companies? Oh, we need more. And maybe clients. I think we have some clients in the room too. Like you are a client, yeah, of not only panelists, but hosting an event. Who is a doctor, an owner of a company, or someone responsible for events in a company, so a potential client. We still have to invite maybe one or the other. Yeah, let's talk about now what we are doing. You heard a lot about Megatrends, you heard a lot about what we all have to do, and now I want to show you a little bit about what insights do we have, what kind of strategy we follow, and what kind of new projects we are planning or already set in place. You probably have read the business events strategy of Luxembourg 2030 already. You have implemented in your heart, it's under your cushion in the bed. And this is like the basis of for all of us what we are doing. Yeah, there are the goals and objectives, the strategy, what we are all about. And this is also like the fundament of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau. And our minister already talked or thanked you all for contributing to the Luxembourg Business Events Barometer. And that's a research basis, what we need in order to see how big the industry is, maybe what changes there are, and if we have the chance to redo it once a year, to also see the developments. And I'm very, very happy that so many of you contributed to this important research, market research. We conducted it with a well-known research institute called EITV, and we calculated in our database 107 venues. It could be a conference center, it could be a conference hotel, or it could be a special location. And fortunately, 68 venues or people in the venues responded to our questionnaire. Thank you so much for doing it. I know it was not easy. I know it was sometimes a lot of data to put in, but it really helps us a lot in order to see how our supply side is, and also a little bit about the demand side. And all the details of this survey will be in a document that we will set up on our website, lcb.lu. Here we just give you a small overview of the results. Yeah, and you also, we will also set up a working group where you, if you are more interested in detailed information about this research, we will have a working group on data and market insights. So feel free to contact us if you need more in-depth data about it. But some information I want to mention here in this presentation. So, as we have already seen, we have round about 107 event venues, and if you make a prognosis about it, what we had from results, and when we make a prognosis about it, we calculated in the last year round about 11,643 business events in Luxembourg, which is with around 1.31 participants, million participants, not 1 million participants. So I see that we have quite a lot of influence here with the business events concerning the economic factor, but it's not only the event itself. We already talked about it. It's also what comes out of it. New ideas, new developments, new research, some change in society. So this is just statistics. We always have to keep in mind what comes out concerning the impact. So this we are still like needing some help in the future in order to find out not only the basic numbers, but also then what's the impact of our conferences we are having here. We have our own database, which is really good in calculating individual conferences, but we don't have an overview yet about the whole situation in the country. 59% of all the events had been conferences, followed by special events and congresses. So there you see concerning the different categories. What's very interesting also, because we mostly talk about our capital city, which is not only doing a great job in attracting conferences, but also you can see that here, even in the surrounding, there had been quite a lot of conferences, and there had been an improvement over the last year. So we see that there are venues outside of the capital cities that can be used in the future even more, but maybe clients don't know yet. If you look at the size, and we already heard it from the trends, is the reality that yes, we also have quite big conferences in our big conference centers, but the majority are small conferences up to 50 participants. 60% of all our 11,600 events had been smaller events. And what's also interesting, I think there we can work a little bit more on it, 48% had been without an overnight stay, 52 with overnight stay. So that means that we are accessible, we have a lot of meetings, just being a day meeting like this one, and we hope that we get in the future people staying longer, because then we have more economic impact, yeah, and then we also may combine a little bit the business side and the leisure side, which is the pleasure side, and therefore I'm also very happy that I have my dear Antje with us from the LCTO, and I have my dear Sebastian Redeker with us from the Luxembourg for Tourism, because it's not also thinking not in silos, it's combining what attracts clients, it's combining what makes also the USP, makes the brand of Luxembourg so important. If we look at international business events, we sometimes have internally a discussion about what is international event and how many national events do we have and how do we count it. Probably you have the same in other destinations. At this moment, from the perspective of this event barometer, we can count round about 25% of international conferences. That means more than 10% of the participants are coming from countries outside of Luxembourg. Mostly they are coming from France, from Belgium, and from Germany. I think we still have potential in the nearby markets, and we will work on that in the Convention Bureau, but we also look at the sustainability part, so we are not going all over the place in the world, we are more looking what's close by, what is connected to our sectors, what is connected to our research institutes and to our corporate clients. If we look at the event organizers or the clients itself, there you see the importance of corporate events in our country. Yeah, 48% of our events are corporate events. Then we have followed by associations and also by public institutions. As we are an EU capital, as we have a lot of international institutions, governmental institutions, so that's also something very important for us, and we have to take care of that. That's also why, dear Carlotta, we thought that we look at your wonderful ambassador program, but maybe also put the corporate ambassadors in our program because they are so important. Just a sneak preview. If you look at the main industry sectors, not that are in the country, but that are related to our events, you see that most of them come from fintech and finance, followed by materials and manufacturing, automotive, health technologies, and life science, logistics, eco-technologies. Something is not surprising, like fintech and finance, but what we are still working on it in our team, that we look at the important economic factors in Luxembourg that are maybe not so well represented yet in the events here. Because, for example, we have ICT, information technology, communication as a big sector, yeah, and it's not so well seen here concerning the conferences, yeah, or we have much more invested from the economy side in space, and not yet these many conferences. And as we talked in the panel discussion about it, look at what is your ecosystem, what are your important sectors in the country, and how can we attract conferences for this sector in this sector. And where do we focus on? There are many, many more information about these database. The final chart here I want to show you is about the future. And I'm very happy that you all look quite optimistically in the future. Yeah, because I'm coming from Germany and sometimes it's a little grumpy there. Yeah, it's like, oh no, everything is bad and how do we do that? And I'm personally a very international person with a big international family, and I'm sometimes not understanding why we are looking so pessimistic, because I think that gets your energy away. So I want to give energy to you and to everyone, and I'm very happy that you give me energy back, because you say, hey, we are looking positively in the future, in the city as well in the surroundings. And I think we have to do a lot of work, but hopefully we will be even more successful in the future. Yeah, what can we see from the results? We have to look a little bit more deeper later on and together with you. We can see we did great, but we can also see we should enforce our sales activities, our bidding activities, together with the local ecosystem. We see quite a lot of potential in our neighboring countries. I call it the Dachregion, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, where we really have not a lot of conferences coming here. And what we can also see is that we should have a look at Luxembourg as a whole. Yeah, the capital is very important, but in the surrounding we have so many, not only venues, but passionate people, but companies, but institutions where we should connect and where we should try to find a way to get conferences over there. We also see that if you look at the Megatrends. I think, is it almost... no, I still have some time. Great. Thank you. I thought maybe it's the personal gong for me. No? We learned a lot about the cost cliff. We learned a lot about also the competitiveness. So we have to strengthen our efforts all together to do more, to bring more visibility, to bring more communication to the world, to see what's happening in Luxembourg and how special Luxembourg is as a destination for business events. And I want to thank also especially really the ministry, the minister, the ministry as a whole, as well as the city of Luxembourg and the LCB board for supporting us. Because maybe you have heard that it's not so natural all over in the other countries. And I can also tell some stories that sometimes it's not easy, to get the support of the politicians, to get the support of the administration. And here I feel like working hand in hand, sometimes very fast. I have to adapt myself to this speed, but it's great. I don't feel like someone is giving me an order. I have the feeling we are all together in the same boat, trying to make Luxembourg more visible and more successful. So, what did we do in the Luxembourg Convention Bureau? Many of you are already working together with you in the partner program. Some of you are maybe here for the first time. Some of you maybe have heard of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau, and I just want to give you some information about what we have done and what we are planning to do, hopefully together with you. Yes, what's our role? We are the promotion, we are the DMO in a way for the country of Luxembourg for business events, but closely working together with Luxembourg for Tourism, who is our, let's say, sister for the tourism side. We are bridge builder for business events, bringing everyone together. We are acquiring, we are a sales agency in a way, acquiring conferences, and we try to give tools for everyone. It's like database, it's marketing tools, it's a help for you, to make your business more successful or to make the conference coming to Luxembourg. This is our wonderful team. They are all here, either in the room or backstage in the regie. They all organized not only this event, but they are doing every day a great job. So it would be wonderful if you could give them a big hand. And I want to mention one lady, Sven Meyer. She just arrived on Monday. She's our new colleague being responsible for corporate clients, because there we see a lot of more potential doing. We already took care of corporate clients, but even more. Please, Svenja, you can wait. Welcome to the team. So, what did we do so far? Hopefully you realized it. Hopefully you had been part of it in the last years. We tried we must say, frankly speaking, the Convention Bureau had been established in 2019. And then we had COVID times and so on. So it's really a young company. It's financed by the country and by the city, 50%, 50%. There's really a joint cooperation, as Maurice Bauer already talked about. Yeah, it's not so usual that there is a city and the country putting money together, putting effort together, putting a board together, and saying we have a joint goal, and we are not having this rivalry, not this competition others may have. And we did a lot of effort concerning visibility and presence, concerning sales and PR, and we set up a new brand identity. Hopefully you have realized, not only the socks you have seen, but it's much more as a corporate identity as a whole, and we invested in data and insights. And what we are working on, and I think probably you've heard it in the last few hours also already, we are not just promoting, we are not just making more visibility, we are also looking at results. We are looking at our own results, so in which cases we had the chance to help to acquire conferences, but we also look at global statistics. And one statistic, I must really say one important statistic, is the ICA ranking, and the ICA ranking gives us an information about concerning international conferences only for associations, and only if they are turning, and only if they are in a minimum of 50 participants, and if they so they have certain criteria, and we are at the moment at place number 61. We had 7 more international conferences coming last year to the country, and the city was mostly successful in raising not only the amount of conferences, but also in the ranking of the city worldwide. This is one objective we are having, but we are looking at many more objectives, because as you have seen, we have a lot of conferences that are smaller and a lot of conferences that cannot turn internationally every year somewhere in the world, but at least we want to stick with this objective, and we are very passionate about not only the ICA ranking, but the ICA membership. And as we have our actual president, Lina, of the Benelux France chapter here in the room, she's especially getting to organize a lot of ICA webinars, a lot of ICA seminars here in Luxembourg, or representing Luxembourg outside of our country, and so it helps a lot. Hopefully, you know all our trade shows, all our projects we are doing in the sales department. We are going on trade shows, but we realize more and more that we need also individual workshops, individual platforms to meet the best clients. And thank you so much for being our partners in these trade shows and sales missions. We will give you the information about next year's event, hopefully soon, hopefully after summer, but it's depending also on the hosts, on the organizations that are organizing these events. We have a long list of one-bits. We already heard of some of them, and your Gen E Entrepreneurship Festival in 2027 is even mentioned here because it wasn't only a big work to do, it will be also giving impact, giving, I think, a lot of legacy to the destination, and we need ambassadors like you in the whole country, and thank you for that. And if you have the idea of organizing an event, or if you have a potential client but maybe not having all the capacities to deal with this bidding, please let us know. We may help in the sales team as often as possible. Maybe you have realized that we are also investing in PR, in press activities, advertorials, cooperation with media, and I think it's very important to talk about what we are doing, to tell the stories. And if you have also some ideas what we can do in the future, please let us know. Maybe we cannot fulfill all your wishes, but we hopefully can do something together to be more visible outside and sometimes even inside the country. Hopefully, not only you are all personally having a LinkedIn account, but also that your company, your institution, your organization is actively using this B2B channel. Maybe you can use it today with the hashtag LBED2026. Or you talk about whatever you experienced here, or whatever your products are, your new venues are, your one-bits are. It helps us a lot, and we are very happy that we already have more than 6,000 followers on LinkedIn and more than 1,000 followers on Instagram, but competition is high, so please help us to talk more about Luxembourg. Tell it in any language you want to, because we have such a big audience, we have such a big community all over the place. This was a little bit of showing what we have done, and now we want to show you a little bit in the last slides what we are planning to do. We have to revise what's in the strategy. We have to look for more our future long-term plans. But now I'm presenting you some projects that we are very proud of and that hopefully you may that may be helpful for you. Many of you are already partners of the LCB, of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau. We enlarged our partner program because we thought we have to think about more which kind of institutions we still need in this ecosystem. So therefore, the institutions like research institutes, universities, chambers, whoever either hosts a conference or is having contacts to industry sectors, or research sectors that may help us to acquire conferences are important for us. So we enlarged our partner program, and also we decided what kind of platforms we want to offer in this partner program. That can be either conferences like here, flagship events. It could be afterworks, but more important, it's also where we can work together. And maybe some of you have participated in our incentive and team building catalog working group, because we thought we have not only to say these are the venues, these are the sectors, these are the potential contacts in the country, but we also what can you do beside, yeah, as being a great activity, a social activity, yeah, sports activity, something with impact. And you will find all this information concerning our working groups, our afterworks, our seminars, in our emails, in our newsletters. But if you are either want to focus on something, please let us know in the foyer. When later on you are going out and having hopefully some healthy lunch quite soon, then you will find a wall, and I forgot the balls. No, that means you will see there some columns, some bottles where you can put in balls to say which subjects are mostly interesting for you. Because then we know, maybe this is something you are more interested or less interested. I think we have 200 of them, so you can decide which one you use. So if you are saying, I think this subject is very, very important concerning the FEM trips, yeah, or a business events calendar we are not having yet, yeah, or more on data and Barometer together with AI subjects. Whatever there is, please feel free to let us know which subjects are very important for you. You find it, as I said, outside in the lobby. I think I already talked about that we have to enforce our joint sales activities, especially in neighboring countries, and to acquire conferences of associations, but also corporate events. You will hear from us, but please also challenge us if you need help in your business. And now I really want to talk a little bit about the subject that has already been mentioned in the panel discussion and before. That's our Luxembourg Congress Ambassador program. It is a project that the Luxembourg Convention Bureau and the board has been working on for quite a few years already. Yeah, but sometimes it takes a while because there's so many things to consider. And now we are really launching this Luxembourg Congress Ambassador program because, as we heard from Carlotta, from Italy, but also from others, it's so important not only to have a venue, not only to have a professional service provider, but to have the, let's say, national and local knowledge leaders, ambassadors, we call it ambassadors, that help us to make a conference come to the country and to also to connect it with the ecosystem in the destination. So it is, what is it? It's a national platform that mobilizes Luxembourg's leading experts and opinion leaders to attract and develop high-value international business events. It has nothing to do with the word ambassadors that are used to have a political ambassador. I know it from other destinations that they had a struggle with that, but I think now it's in our industry that it's accepted that we have a Congress ambassador. Yeah, we want to connect. We want to meet and mobilize expertise. We want to help them, and I said, who said someone has to do the dirty work? Yeah, but we want to really encourage wonderful people here in the country that have a lot of expertise to help us acquire conferences and to help us in different sectors. So more visibility is the impact. and also stronger collaboration and more wins of conferences. And how do we do that? First of all, we say we need a pool of experts in Luxembourg, and then of these experts, we may give some of them an award, because of their exceptional contribution for acquiring international conferences to Luxembourg. So they're all ambassadors, but some of them are then awardees, for the Luxembourg Congress Ambassador Award. And here it is, we say, yes, there are association leaders that are very important here in our country. From all the different sectors. But we say there are also leaders in the corporate business, heads of companies, heads of, as we talked about the agency subject, and sometimes you need support, to get this international corporate event, and if we have a local ambassador from the corporate side, that would help a lot. So on the 17th of February next year, we will then celebrate with all the ambassadors and give to some of them then the award. And now let's make this program happen. And thanks to my team really for setting all the details up. And now it's on the way and you will hear from it soon. So, and now in the final part, I'll let you know some visuals in a way. We said we need more visibility. It's by talking, it's by doing PR, it's by showing up in person, but we also need some marketing activities. And it's not the end of the road, it is something what we started now. And now I will start with our new LCB video. You may use it if you want to. Hopefully you all like it. And I think our wonderful, I'll get back to this. I think the actress in the film is also here in the room. Is it right? Anna, are you there? I think so. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. You will see her now. Yeah, maybe you can clap afterwards, but now let's put on the video, and then you see a wonderful lady explaining us business events in Luxembourg.
Thinking of hosting a global event? In Luxembourg, we've already set the stage for you. Here, close by, isn't just geography. It's why things happen. Where the distance between an idea and a decision maker is just a door away. From world-leading researchers, isn't he cute? To innovators redefining what comes next. Different industries, one ecosystem. Where your event will feel different. Because people won't just attend, but will actually meet. An environment that inspires. And this one always blows people's minds. Free public transport. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Thanks, guys. Gonna run. And a team dedicated to bringing the right people together. And when the workday ends, the real inspiration begins.
dat is vreemd. De helm is weg.
I hope you like it. This film is produced by the Luxembourgish company Skin, with the lead of Dominique Weber, and Anne Klein is there. You may meet her later. Now she's a celebrity. Oh, she even was a celebrity before, but now in a different industry. Yeah, and we also wanted to have some key messages and key visuals to represent our USPs, to have different views of the country and not just venues, but a little bit more inspiration on what the ecosystem is about. And here you see some key messages and key visuals that are really just done now, so nothing is on air yet. Yeah, we will start a campaign later on, probably end of this year or in the beginning of the following year. But this is now the key visuals we will be using, but always explaining in addition what it's all about. And we decided not only to do something internationally, but also to explain nationally what we are doing. Because sometimes when we are entering conferences or when we are going to meetings, we still have to explain what we are doing and how we can help. Yeah, and it's not only with potential ambassadors that they hopefully are not afraid of, but because we are already working with them quite a lot, but with all the other partners here in the country, there are short ways, but even though not everyone knows what we are doing, so we have to also push the visibility of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau. So, and we cannot do it all by ourselves. We need you for that. Please inform us about what's happening in your venues, what's happening in your companies. Tell us your success stories, then we can forward them, then we can communicate them. Please participate in our working groups. And there's one more activity outside. We have called it a wishing wall. Yeah, and there you can use a QR code and write in your wishes, either with your name or without your name. What you expect from us, what do you want from us in the future? Because this is just a start. That's a start of a better cooperation in the future, but I'm also very thankful that we have these cooperations since years, and I must say I'm a little sorry that I haven't met you all in person yet. I just arrived in November last year, but so I'm sorry if I may not have shown up to your company yet. Feel free to contact me, but hopefully we'll see soon outside. And now I would like I hope that you get some ideas, some inspiration, something to take home, at least one idea to change. Maybe as we are a green business event on sustainability, on AI, on legacy, on ambassador program. And now after all this brain food, we need real food. And in the name of the Luxembourg Convention Bureau and the Luxembourg and the LCB board, I invite you to a healthy plant-based lunch from the famous caterer Julien Cliquet. And I thank you all again for coming here to this business event. I hope to get connected now outside. Thank you to my wonderful team for organizing it. Thank you for coming, and see you outside. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the speakers.